Hello world, Shelly here, and it's time for your Friday Foundation Fix, where you can get your fix of foundation reviews in between foundation fests. And today I'm going to check out the new release from Dior. It is the Forever Skin Glow Foundation. The full name of this, let me read it because there's a lot of words. The Dior Forever Skin Glow 24-hour asterisk wear radiant perfecting skin caring foundation. This one retails for $52. You get 1 fluid ounce of product in a very nice glass jar. Comes in 24 different shades, primarily skewed to the fair to medium range. This is described as a medium to full coverage foundation that remains flawless for up to 24 hours in a radiant finish with SPF 35. Coverage medium, finish radiant, formulation liquid, described as being appropriate for normal, dry, combo, and oily skin types. That sounds like all of them to me. Highlighted ingredients. We've got pansy extract as a hydration booster to help protect the skin from drying, leaving it soothed and looking smoother and more radiant. I need some non-dryness. What else you need to know? The iconic long-wearing Forever foundation, now in a radiant finish, creates a complexion that appears flawless and even with tighter-looking pores. From morning to night, the skin-perfecting formula delivers a naturally vibrant, shine-free glow. The skin is protected from exterior aggressors, including UVA and UVB rays with SPF 35 broad-spectrum sunscreen. That is about all they say. This is getting 4.2 out of 5 stars with 17 reviews. On Sephora's website, 82% of the people who reviewed it would recommend it. So it's a fairly new formula. That's not a whole lot of sample size to base our opinions on the reviews. But we are going to check this out. And first up, let's see how this one swatches against some others in my collection. Alrighty, let's swatch. How did I end up swatching so crooked across my arm today? I have no idea. But anyway, first up is today's foundation, the Dior Forever Skin Glow in shade 1 Cool Rosy. Next is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place in 1C1 Cool Bone. The Estee Lauder is just a smidge lighter and definitely more of a peach rather than a pink cool undertone, so I would say the Dior Skin Glow is probably one shade darker than the Estee Lauder. Third, I've got the MAC Studio Sculpt in shade NW15. Same thing going on. I'd say the MAC is about a shade lighter, so maybe this would be an NW20 or so. Fourth, I've got the Chanel Vitalumiere Aqua in shade Beige Rosé 32. Definitely darker than the Dior. And my last swatch is the Smashbox Studio Skin 15-Hour Hydrating Foundation in shade 1.0. In terms of the formula on this one, this looks like a dimethicone-based formulation. The third ingredient is alcohol, which is typically a drying ingredient. They don't specify that it's SD alcohol, but the fact that it is not one of the alcohols that ends in a YL, those are typically hydrating alcohols. That is a warning sign to me if you've got dry skin. They claim that this is a hydrating foundation with the other ingredients in here. It also has fragrance listed fairly high up in the ingredient list. It's about the middle as opposed to being at the very end of the ingredients. You know how these bougie brands like to make everything smell like perfume. So it does have fragrance, it does have alcohol, and it definitely has a fruit extract, some natural ingredients, which can cause sensitivity in some people. I don't have sensitive skin, but if I'm going to react to anything, it's almost always a natural ingredient of some kind. So take that for what it's worth. We will see how this one performs. I'm starting out with a 44-year-old face. I've got some sun damage I like to cover up, large pores, defined lines in my forehead, my smile lines, my chin, and I've got texture issues, especially on the driving side of my face, so that is what I am trying to combat with my foundation. I have primed with my Strivectin Line Blur Factor. I will go in on one half of my face with a sponge. This is from Shop Miss A. It's the AOA sponge that donates to their animal rescue cause. It's like $1.50. Other side I'll use a brush. This is my e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. We will see if one side or the other performs better. We have a pump underneath our cap. Did I tell you what shade I've got? I've got shade 1CR of this foundation. blended out super easily with the sponge. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of product has soaked into the sponge and coverage is very light on a first pass. Really not much coverage at all. Let's see how well the brush side does. This is also blending very easily with the brush. I would say we are at maybe a high light coverage with the brush. Better coverage for sure with the brush versus the sponge. I think they're equally pretty, but unless you're going for sheer coverage, you're probably going to want to go brush on this one. They say this is medium to full coverage, and we are nowhere near that. I did use up all of that product, so let's try a little bit more and see if we can even this out and get a little more coverage. This foundation seems to build on itself just fine. The coverage, I would say, at 2 passes is about medium coverage. I can't really see this getting to what I would call full coverage, where you really can't see any sunspots or anything poking through. I can still see the worst of them just a little bit, but it has done a nice job at evening out my skin tone. It is not accentuating any of my lines around my mouth, which is wonderful. It is not clinging to the dry patches on my upper lip that I currently have. It's not even clinging around my nostrils, which is pretty amazing because that area of my face never looks smooth. It's not clinging to the texture between my eyebrows. It's not really clinging anywhere. It's got a very nice, smooth satin finish. I would say it's satin to luminous. It's got a nice glow to it, but it doesn't look overly makeup-y. It looks very nicely skin-like. It's doing a good job at blurring texture. It's not accentuating pores. It doesn't seem to be settling into any lines just yet. My thought is that this shade might end up being a smidge too dark for me. I can just kind of see the line where I brought it down my neck, but we'll see once I get powder and everything else on. I think I am going to have to set this. It still feels pretty doggone tacky, but good start so far, I would say. I'm gonna go put the rest of my face on. Let's check the time. Get the phone out. Time is 2:13. That will be our check-in time. I will be right back with the rest of my face. Okay, no complaints whatsoever with this foundation. I did set it lightly with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. It took very nicely to that. I don't think it really did anything to dull that really pretty luminance that it had going on, so thumbs up there. I had no trouble blending out concealer. My concealer is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Away concealer. In fact, concealer blended out like a dream, effortless, totally blended out, no problems whatsoever. I have no complaints. If this stays as beautiful as it looks right now and doesn't dry me out, I am going to have lots of good things to say. Let's hope that comes true. On the rest of my face, my bronzer is the Balm Desert. My blush is Laura Geller in Tropic Hues. My highlight is Natasha Denona Super Glow. On my eyes, I've got the Natasha Denona Lila palette with a little bit of the sequins from the new pack of the Pat McGrath mini lip glosses that I just got. This is the Lust Gloss in Divine Rose. Nope, that's not Divine Rose. That's Dare to Bear. The one I'm wearing is Divine Rose, and that is where we're starting out. I will come back in a bit with a daylight check-in, and I'll be back at the end of the night with my final thoughts. Daylight check-in here. It's only been a couple of hours, but by the time I get another break, I'm not going to have daylight left. So here is the color match. A little bit too dark for me, but otherwise I think everything is holding up okay. It's only been a little while, but I think it may have oxidized a smidge since I applied it, so that may be compounding the color match issue, but that is where we are at about 2 hours in, and I'll be back tonight with my final thoughts. 10:30 p.m. That puts us just past the 8-hour mark with the Dior Forever Skin Glow foundation. I'm in my pajama mode, Pokemon for life. Let's see how this foundation held up. first comments, very comfortable to wear, very lightweight feeling. I haven't even really noticed that I'm wearing makeup. They claim that this is a hydrating foundation. And I'm going to say that is probably true because I don't feel more hydrated than I felt when I started this morning. But my skin right now is very dry to the point where I have dry patches on my nose and my nostrils. And at the end of 8 hours, I don't feel dry. So I think being a person whose skin gets dehydrated very, very easily, there must be some hydration going on in this foundation for it to have kept up with my dehydration throughout the day. So I'm going to go, yes, this is at least slightly hydrating. I feel like it kept up with my dry skin all day. In terms of the finish, I think it still looks radiant, but it does not look sweaty or, greasy. I don't have any complaints about the finish throughout the day. At the 5-hour mark, I got a good look up close, and everything was still looking very nice. I was not having any noticeable wear. At the 8-hour mark, I'm starting to have a little bit of noticeable wear. Let's take a closer look. On my chin, product is basically just beginning to wear away. And on my upper lip is probably my only area of complaint because in the areas where the product is wearing away, it's a little bit doing that sort of bunched up, gunking up kind of a thing where the product just kind of glops together and doesn't look super cute. Around my nose, it just gracefully wore away around my nostrils, but my nose itself is actually looking pretty good, and I did have to touch my nose throughout the day just a little bit because I have had a runny, sneezy nose. My blush bronzer highlights still look intact. My pores and texture look just as much minimized as they did when I first applied this, so I think that stayed in place very well. I'm only having the tiniest bit of breakdown on the texture in between my eyebrows. It's really not bad at all. And my forehead looks pretty much like it did this morning. It looks pretty doggone good. I have not had any settling into lines significantly at all. I didn't notice this in my smile lines. I didn't notice it in my forehead lines. It really did not accentuate the wrinkles around my mouth, and that's kind of what I want as a maturing skin person who has these struggles that does not want to accentuate them. So overall, I'm really happy with how this wore throughout the day. Now, at the 8-hour mark, the fact that I'm seeing breakdown, especially around my mouth and my chin, this is a foundation that's claiming to have 24-hour wear. I would expect to get at least to the 10 to 12 hour mark before it starts breaking down. So in terms of it being very long wearing, I'm not seeing that. This is an acceptable level of wear for me for average to slightly better than average wear, but I do wish it wore longer. I had the impression that it was going to be a long wear foundation based on the 24-hour claims. I don't think on me that this one is holding up to that level of claim. So, if I had to give a grade to the Dior Forever Skin Glow foundation on dry and mature skin, I'm going to go A-. I like this one. I think it's very comfortable. It's very pretty. The shade is a smidge too dark for me in the sense that I can see where I stopped bringing it down my neck, and then there's my actual skin color. But there is one lightness to darkness shade lighter. There is a 0 shade, and that is a neutral undertone. This is the 1 shade, and it is the cool rosy undertone. There's also a 1 neutral. I don't think the undertone is off. I think it's the lightness to darkness. I probably could have gone with the 0, which is described as very fair, but I'm not usually very fair. Even in the winter, I'm still like just fair. There are people paler than I am that typically fall in that very fair descriptor. So, I'd say this runs a little bit dark on the fair end of the spectrum. Doesn't get very deep in the colors, although there are 30 shades, 24 shades to choose from. So it's a decent shade range, not the best on the planet, but not the worst. So, yeah, I'm going to go A- on this one. I like it. I am going to wear this some more. I think especially in the winter when you are fighting dry air, lack of humidity, you're combating the winter elements. If you've got dry skin especially, thumbs up on this one. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. There you have it. One more Friday foundation fix in the books. If you enjoy foundation reviews, you want me to see more of them? You want me to do more of them? Give me a thumbs up down below. Let me know in the comments what foundations you would like to see next. I have a bunch of foundations. I'm always buying more foundations. I really need to do another foundation fest so I can get through some of these foundations. You can always go to my website, geekoutofwater.com, click the Foundation Fest link. That'll take you to a ranked, sortable, searchable spreadsheet of all of the foundation reviews I have done, which there are now over 120 of them. All the data's in there. Swipe that spreadsheet to the side. There's a lot of information in there. And as always, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. Come back every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time for new videos. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notification bell if you don't want to miss any. And thanks you guys. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.